Hey, everybody, this is Dr. Kevin McGovern, and it is time for another episode of the Prove It Live podcast, episode number 81. The Prove It Live podcast is brought to you by the Farm Baseball Performance Institute in Waltham, Massachusetts. They can be found on the World Wide Web at thefarmbpi.com and also by Perfect Motion Sports Therapy in Acton, Massachusetts. And they can be found also on the World Wide Web at perfectmotionsportstherapy.com. So without further ado, I'm going to turn you over to my very handsome co-host, Mr. Mike Frary. Mike,
that's me. That's me. Thank you, Digital Kevin. Very professional opening for this podcast. So hats off to you, sir. Very well done. This is the Prove It Live podcast. I am Mike Frary from the Farm Baseball Performance Institute, along with Dr. Kevin McGovern, Perfect Motion Sports Therapy here. So we got a kind of a fun little show for you tonight. We are sans producers. No Gagne Fruitis, no Ben. Both are absent tonight. And it's just me and Kev here at almost 10:40 on a Friday evening. So our schedules get a little crazy and, sometimes we have to push the old cast back, but wanted to get this in because we've
got nothing to do on Friday at 10.
That's right. Sadly, we have nothing to do on a Friday night. I am very, very disheartened though, Kevin, about one thing, and that is this is my first podcast in a hoodie in quite some time. So it was a little chilly here and up in the Boston area today, and so I'm not liking that at all. No likey. But for us, that means football season, and for anyone up here in Boston following the Red Sox this year, that's a good thing. That is a good thing. So, top of the order, Kevin. Wanted to talk about something I'm sure a lot of us that are listening or watching already has heard about, but I want to kind of give our take. And that is, what's the way to? I forget the actual headline, but it was something like "Pimping Go Wrong." I think something like that. As somebody put it,
it did say pimping
gone wrong. Yeah,
not the pimping that requires money and
not the oldest profession.
No, not that kind of pimping, but pimping like
baseball pimping,
showboating.
Which, by the way, like, why is that just an accepted term, right? I mean, you see her like kids use it, but anyway. So you got the video there, Kev?
Oh yeah, I got
share that up because this is really interesting. Man, and this is, by the way, this was a minor league game, right? So
yeah, I'm just trying to get on my phone here.
I don't even know what GWN stands for anyway. Did a lot of prep for this for this top of the order.
You did.
Yep.
That should be
Memphis Redbirds. So interestingly, I think they're AAA. Not being able to get out there. It says you started screen sharing, but you're actually not really sharing anything.
Oh, sharing nothing.
Yeah.
I'll figure it out. Keep talking.
You'll share nothing. I'm actually looking up, right? So I want to find out exactly who. All right. I think I know who they are.
So we have a guy up who gets up and,
Yep. His name. I know his name. His name is Delvin Perez.
Oh, Delvin Perez.
Delvin Perez. And they're a AAA. So Memphis Redbirds are a AAA affiliate of the St. Louis Cardinals. Okay. And they're in a minor league game against another team. Okay. It doesn't matter who it is. I don't even really care. But it's more to the state of now. We've talked about this before. We haven't I think we actually have almost a full show if we really wanted to, because there's something going on in baseball that I personally in my lifetime have never seen. And that is there's sort of the older players, the guys who had played in Major League Baseball and have been retired for, X months, the Gen Xers, right? I'd say that, right? To be fair, probably the Gen Xers and the newer generation currently playing, the Gen Zs, they're at odds with one another. I mean, that's just the truth. Now, growing up, you typically had, right, Kevin? I mean, there was a sort of mutual respect. There's the guys who had done it before. They were the biggest fans of the guys who were coming up and doing it, in their generation. Big disconnect now. See lots of argument. Now, granted, we didn't have social media then either, right? So they couldn't just like
Into
kind
the
of bicker
basket,
back and
but that
forth.
one
Whoa.
lands the glove
Michael,
of Malloy.
finally
Went
happened.
around the bases.
I mean, you struck out 2. 1-1.
Hold on. Here, pause that for a second.
Launches this one out to
All
left
kinds
center.
of technical problems. Why? Because
And the wind. Oh, my goodness.
There we go. Go ahead. But I do
So-
have the screen.
All right, good. So we're going to play this for you in a second, right? So one of the things that you hear, right, between the two sides is you hear this thing like, let the kids have fun, let the players have fun. That means let them pimp these home runs, let them showboat, let them dance, flip the bat up in the air. We talked about something in one of our earlier podcasts, guy giving the bird, flipping the bird to the outfielder, right? I mean, it's gotten crazy. And so it's nice when you see something like this, Kevin, right? Because it's a little like, right? It's kind of like, well, kind of bit you in the butt a little bit, right? So this kid, Delvin Perez, hits this ball, thinks he got it.
2. 1-1 pitch. Perez launches
Oh, got it.
to left
Oh, he's
center.
got it.
Yep.
And the wind. Oh, my goodness. Going to
Kevin, you click the screen so the text.
He thought
Fine.
that was gone.
So did I. Malloy makes the catch.
Now watch this.
Perez, I think,
He's still circle. Yep.
pointing.
still
to
thinks it's out.
Yep.
Oh,
base
no.
coach
Around the
says nothing.
bases.
Pointing to his peeps in left field.
Gone.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
On.
Pimps it in.
Look at this.
Hey, we were
Look at
just talking during the break.
And Mike,
We
Attaboy.
were talking during the break
right? It's like
about Javier Baez,
it's-
2016
I don't know what
wild card
20
round against the
home
San
run?
Francisco
Not even
Giants.
close.
Ball crushed like that, out to left,
So
lands in the basket, but that one lands in the glove of
All
Malloy.
right.
Went around the bases.
I mean, you
wow,
struck
All
out
right.
2. 1-1.
get rid of him.
So, yeah, I mean, what's amazing is that, he goes literally all around to third base. And as he's between, first of all, you saw how he acted, a little strut out of the box, flips the bat, goes around between right as he's about to, before he goes in around third base, goes a little, right?
Yeah. Well,
Who
who's
he's pulling.
who? Like, what is that?
Exactly. Someone, I don't know, someone in heaven that who knows, but just had to be uber embarrassed and, good because, and look I don't know where I've sort of fallen in the middle. I hate sitting the fence on issues, Kevin, as you know, I'm very opinionated. I hate sitting the fence, but I kind of do on this one because I think there's room for a little like excitement, right? You strike somebody out, you get out of a jam, bases loaded, no one out, and you get down to 2 outs, you get that last hitter, you strike them out and like a little fist pump. I get that, right? But it's gotten so out of control because even if that did go out, Kevin, it was going to go up by what, 10 feet, 5 feet? It wasn't like he hit this thing out of the stadium.
So, I guess I would agree, as long as it's equal on both sides, meaning if the batter, and this never happens anymore, right? If the
Mhm.
batter pimps a home run, the next pitch, the guy wears it in the ear.
Right.
I might have thrown it at the dugout, slip. Sometimes the ball slips.
Sure does.
That doesn't happen at all.
No.
And that's why these guys are getting these swings, because no one is commanding the inside part of the play, or baseball is not being settled on the field. So
Good point.
I looked at today, the Red Sox, Garrett Cole gave up another home run, and your guy pimped it around the whole bases. And I'm like, how many home runs do you have? 10.
Yeah.
10.
Yeah.
You don't pimp. When you've got 10, you don't pimp home runs.
You're also 70 games back.
Right.
Right.
That's the whole thing. The best was when the Red Sox lost. Remember against, I think, Toronto, they lost on a Saturday or Sunday by like 30 runs. Right? Remember that? Or they almost
Sounds right. I know. Yeah. I believe you.
And your aforementioned catcher, who's been traded,
Mhm.
the home run and literally pimps it. Dude, you're down 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So at
Exactly,
that
yeah.
point, it's a little, but yeah, I mean, if it's in, 1-run game and you're doing something, or it's a walk-off grand slam, yeah, I can see that. But sometimes dude, you did your job, or like you shouldn't be pimping anything down 30 runs and behind 65 games. Maybe
Right.
there needs to be a time and place for it.
Well, and I think, you bring up a good point, right? So I think that's a bit where the issue is coming from, is that it doesn't have to be even this big moment anymore. It's just, like you said, there was an unwritten rule for years. Like, I don't care how well you hit the ball. If the home run you just hit only brought your team to within 6, like, you don't, like, no, you run around and you get back to your dugout. You don't try to rub that in anyone's face. You're losing. You're
Right.
losing by a decent margin. Like, have some feel for the game, for crying out loud, but so this begs the question, Kevin, like, because you hear a lot of people say it, like, is it the me generation? Is that the problem? Is it like, it doesn't matter about what we're doing. It's what I'm doing.
But yeah, it's not everyone. Like, the Yankees have had the Maris family at the games, last 4 or 5 games. And someone from Apple TV interviewed Roger Maris Jr. tonight, and his dad would be proud of Aaron Judge. And he specifically said he hits a home run. It doesn't matter what it is. He drops the bat, he runs the bases, and my dad would have been proud of that.
Right.
He doesn't fling it up in the air no matter what. And he's pretty much probably the only guy, the Yankees, that actually just hits it.
Yep.
And drops the bat and runs around the bases.
Yep. Because Stanton's notorious for pimping them too. Right.
Notorious, dude.
Yeah.
Like, he'll strike out 4 times and, oh God, dude, you hit.
Yeah.
And it's.
Oh, you finally ran into one. Yeah.
Right. Like, you look at, and this, we go back, like, Giancarlo Stanton isn't in the major leagues, I'm sorry, in the late 70s and 80s, because he would never be able to hit any of that pitching.
Agreed.
At all, right? Because
Right.
There's pitching is so bad. The balls are, right down the middle of the plate. There's no way he goes against Jim Palmer and pit. Like, if you're batting 205 now, back then you're batting 110. You're not in the major leagues. I don't care how many home runs you hit.
It's so funny. I remember because when I was a kid, I used to get in the same arguments with my dad. My dad would say, it's not like it was. The game's not like it was. And I would say, Dad, look, you had guys, facing, a starting pitcher on his 115th pitch and blah, blah. And I would say, so and so, they didn't have so and so coming into relief. And he'd go, I got news for you. So and so, whoever I brought up at the time, wouldn't even be in the big leagues back then. He had 8 teams, he had 10 teams. It's these guys wouldn't, the condensed roster. So there's definitely an argument back and forth that, which I love, and I think baseball is one of the ones you can really do it with. Like, you can't with basketball and football, but it really is an argument to be had there. And yeah, it's like and this is where I get, it's a bit of an issue. Like, it's just, there's no reverence for anything. Like, have some reverence for the game. Do you know what I mean? Have some reverence for the front of your jersey, for the city you're representing, for all of that stuff. And there's just none. It's just, look what I just did. Like, great. Could how come you couldn't have done that when we had the go ahead run on second last night and you were up, right? No, we're
doing it now, up 7 runs.
You're up 7.
Right.
Where pitchers are doing this, right? They're letting God hit the ball, right? We're not walking anybody up 7. You're going to get balls to hit. So it was kind of nice to see a little, what do you call it? It's almost like street justice there, right? Some field justice where, he had to get all the way around third base to realize that home run he thought he just smoked.
It's not a
Nope. Hit the gym, kid. Sorry,
well.
Came up a little short. Yep. So that's all I have to say about that.
Transitioning to our topic, which I think we're going to be talking about, just general coaching.
Yeah.
Michael, you've brought on 3 new coaches in the last few weeks. All
4,
right?
Yeah.
One off of professional ball, which was the one I just missed, and 3 off of college ball.
2 off of professional and
Anthony.
Yeah.
And I've worked with 2 of them personally. And, the question, we're working what I think is basic movement stuff that would have greatly improved both players, not that they didn't have.
Right.
And my question is, I spent like 45 minutes with them. They played college baseball for 5 years. Like, why isn't anyone picking up stuff that just minute movement things that would help these kids tremendously? I don't know what's happening with the coaching? I mean, is coaching now making sure everyone's on the bus on time and, that they get their per diem money, or is it like, I mean, what's going on?
Well, it's funny. It's a good question because I think there's a couple of things going on. Number one, I will say this, right? And this is where I disagree with some of the older folks, right? I typically take their side, right? Like in the topic we were just talking about, sort of the Gen X generation versus the newer. This is where I maybe disagree a little bit. Is a lot of them are sort of anti-instruction, like, hey, just go out and do reps. Well, yeah, if you do reps like you guys did reps, that's great because your swings are great. But a lot of people don't know how to swing the bat properly. So I think instruction is important. I think it's very important. And good instruction is that much more important because same thing, Kevin. I saw one of them, right? And I saw Anthony. Anthony's a position player and a bat, and he was actually a very good one and played Division II, high level Division II baseball. Even like challenged some records there and then played professionally. And I saw him and he said, "Hey, you can take a look at me." And I immediately thought, because he wanted to hit the ball harder, I said, "We could easily get you 10 miles an hour like that." Right. And same thing, seeing him for seconds. And I don't know. I think that there's a couple of things. I don't want to put all the blame on the college just because I think you got to get to a real high level power rank type of level of a school to have real quality hitting instructors. Head coaches in college baseball, they're not instructors. That's not their thing. They got to know how to recruit, right? They got to know how to sell you their school and their program, and they got to know X's and O's. They got to know when to bunt. They got to know when to bunt and run, hit and run, double steal, all that stuff, right? They got to win games. So, but there's got to be someone on the staff, right? I mean, it's not just the head coach. You have this cavalcade of coaches, right? For what? For what? I mean, I agree. I mean, I don't understand how, because this isn't like earth-shattering stuff. This isn't stuff that we invented or someone, I mean, this is basic stuff, right? I mean, you saw it. Basic movement that he couldn't do. And again, not his fault because he wasn't shown the proper way. And so what's he do? He develops bad habits. He stays stiff and rigid and inflexible in certain parts of his body. And so he can't even perform the right motion, even if he's trying to, which is where you really come in, obviously. Right. I mean, but you saw it. I mean, I don't know what the answer is. I really don't, but
I mean, I work with him today. I would think that if he did the hit tracks or whatever machine with Rapsodo,
yeah,
he gained 10 miles an hour today.
Yeah.
And I didn't do a rep. Just this is how you load. And it was funny, like all in the same movement, he would load, stand up, load again, and drop and land real hard on his front foot. And all that is time. Anthony, what's your problem? I'm late, right? Or when I get quick, I roll the ball over.
Mm-hmm.
This is why you're doing that. Because of that, you're late. It's not like you don't know how to hit. You have these little movement flaws that I see all these gurus. We're going to get into some of the guru crap, but all these people out there, doing flipping bat and doing this. But at the end of the day, you have to be coordinated on one leg and your back leg on a squat. You've got to be able to do that. And any sport that you do. And I just see that, we'll see the foot moving and we'll see all this kind of stuff that, like, how did you go 5 years of school? And no one said, gee, and all these schools have all these technology, right? They all have video. They're all on TV.
They have Rapsodos. They have all this stuff.
All this stuff. Like, how did no one say, you can't load and have your foot have the weight go over your pinky toe ever.
Right.
Oh, and then we look. I mean, I don't know how at the time I knew some. At the time, A-Rod had come back from his labrum surgery and couldn't hit. He was late on everything. And I looked at him and I watched his little because it was his right hip, I believe, that he done. And I watched his foot wiggle. And the Yankees had to pay out $25 million when they released him because he couldn't hit. It's not that he couldn't hit. He knew what a curveball and a slider were. He was just late. And I looked at him like, he's late. Just fix the foot.
Well,
$28 million mistake.
yeah. And it's funny too with the things that they'll say when they finally break out of it. It has nothing to do with the actual fix. But excuse me, getting Anthony right. And this is where, I think construction's important because clearly he was athletic enough and he was talented enough that he could perform well. I see even big leaguers sometimes, swings because people always like to well, what about this guy? He does this, he does that. Okay. What's to say that if he didn't do X or Y better, that he wouldn't be even better than he is? It's not to say you can't ever hit a baseball. You can't ever have any success unless you do it this exactly the way we're telling you. No, that's not it. But it's about the basic human movements that we know are going to help you perform better. They're going to make you turn faster, which is going to make you see the ball longer, which is going to give you greater success as a hitter. It's that simple. When you get a kid like Anthony who gets the first movements, he understands what loading's supposed to be, does it, and then completely undoes it. It does it, and then it's like he never loaded to begin with because he gets to the outside, he lets his momentum pull him forward, right? But no one ever explained to him, hey, you don't want to let the weight just carry you back down. You want to control the landing of your front foot. You want to remain athletic. You want to keep your hips back. You want the small of your back to be, have that little lordosis, the curve in it. No one told him. So,
and then we do. Oh, how did you let your hips get that tight? You have a strength and conditioning coach. How come you can't cross your legs?
Did he say he was afraid to do deadlifts?
Yeah, all of a sudden we do that and teach him the proper way to do a squat and work on some hip flexor movement, and bam, he can do exactly what we're telling him to do in literally a half hour. And the good thing is, people, we've captured all this on video, and we'll be putting this up on the Proof It Live site on YouTube. But just stuff that I look at that's basic movement 101. You're at these institutions, and he went to but I've looked at big leaguers. I've looked at Olympic athletes. I mean, we're gonna have a guest on the podcast in a couple of weeks who's an MMA fighter who was an Olympian and couldn't do a proper squat as a judicon. How is that possible?
Well, Anthony told us
do it, right? If you could do it, where would you be? Is Anthony a Division I baseball player?
Oh, for certain.
For
certain. And maybe even more. And Anthony told us he couldn't sit crisscross applesauce. Right.
How is that possible?
He's a professional baseball player.
What are your conditioning? You hear about, and this is what we talked about a million times. We work out or we condition or we do for two reasons. One is to improve performance, and two is to stay healthy. He was failed at both of those activities.
That's right.
He's hurt or been hurt. And two, his performance didn't improve because he can't move correctly.
Right.
But they're in the gym, deadlifting, doing this, doing that. And the basic move, you can't do algebra 2 unless we can do addition and subtraction. And this is why this goes back to the root of why all these players are hurt. Because everyone's trying to lift the gym, the whole CrossFit mentality. Let's lift the gym. Let's do as many of the reps as we can poorly. And then we're hurt. I mean,
well, and that's the thing too. So for everyone watching and listening, this isn't a kid who was just lazy. He works at his craft all the time. He's in the gym all the time.
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%.
Right. So, but and so and this is where it gets really it bums me out because you get kids who think, oh, I just can't do. I guess I'm not good at that, or I can't do this. He didn't think that he could sit cross-legged, well, I guess I'm not a person that has that type of flexibility, not understanding that, well, no, someone should have showed you how to become flexible enough to do that. Right. And almost every single thing that we talk about, this is the other thing too, is learned. I'm sorry. I don't believe that there's something, I hear some people go, hey, either you got it or you don't. No, there's nothing magical or mystical about being a baseball player. There's not.
Well, remember Michael Jordan got cut from his high school team.
Right.
Twice.
Right. It's about skill and learning to be better. And okay, yeah, does some people naturally throw harder than others? Sure. Absolutely. That's true. Okay. But it's not mystical or magical. It has to do with biology and has to do with the external rotation that they'll have in their arm. and the range of motion that one has versus the other. But again, this is the thing, you can really learn to improve that. Now we're learning that, like, oh, you can actually teach velocity to a point. Get out of town, right? You can teach to throw healthily, to a large degree, right? I mean, you can near eliminate injuries, nearly, right? I mean, but people, that's the thing. People like to write it off with like, well, throwing a baseball is just unnatural. No, luck of the draw. You got hurt. No, nope. We were doing this from way back. We were throwing rocks at woolly mammoths
And doing
a long time ago.
When I right, and of course
Probably not tearing UCLs either.
I bring up the tennis thing, and I got people trying to tell me it's a different motion. No. We have flexion, abduction, internal, and external rotation. There's only, you can maybe say scaption, but there's only really 4 major movements of the shoulder. Are you going to tell me that serving a tennis ball is not the same movement as throwing a baseball? You are insane. Or within 88.7%, right? It's the same movement.
You know what I say? You know what I say to those people? Because I've heard the same thing. Well, it's different motion. I go, well, why don't we teach them to throw that way then?
Right.
If it is, because it's not a different motion, but if it is, why wouldn't we teach that? Because they're hitting it well over 100 miles an hour.
Right.
Well over 100 miles an hour.
And, in a 5-hour match, how many serves are they doing? 70,
Right.
80, 100, and then coming back the next day.
Right.
Same
Just
exact.
do it all over again. Yep. And of course, my thing's always the quarterback, and I get told, well, it's a heavier ball, so it's not as bad for you. I just have a feeling those studies are flawed.
Yeah, a little. Yeah, exactly. And it's just, and I look at, remember that the movie, A Bronx Tale, like wasted talent. And
Now you can't leave.
yeah, right.
My favorite scene.
It's not right, and it's not wasted on the kid's part because he's putting in the work, but he's putting in slightly wrong work or misinformed work.
Right.
And
Trying to take the shortcut.
How many players has coaching made worse?
Lots.
Right? Like
Lots.
if the coach is supposed to get you to be better, I would say right now, especially, the whole reason for this podcast is to dispel some of the crap that we're going to show again. But some coaches are making people worse.
I'd say whew,
A lot of ignorance.
I don't want to say it, but it's true. I think it's not just some, it's
A lot. I mean,
a lot. It's a lot. And depending on what level you're talking about, it could even be most of it. Yeah.
My niches are overhand throwing athletes, and I'm the last stop of, all the PT places you've been. And I see people at like, they didn't teach you this exercise? No, I've never heard of it. What? And I'm like, how did you not? What are people doing? Like, and I see all this PT, like all these studies and this and Graston techniques and dry needling, and why don't we get back to oatmeal? Right? Here's the flakes, add water, there's breakfast. Why don't we get back to the basic stuff, right? Because we could have Graston, dry needled, tickled, whatever we did to Anthony, and guess what? He would still move poorly.
Yep.
Right? Until we correct the basic neurological movement, he's not going to get better. And people are just like, again, I talk about in the penthouse, I guess,
But what about myofascial release?
The Hangover was a good movie, and they're up in the penthouse, but yeah, they had the Lion and Mike Tyson, but okay, but Caesar's Palace is a really good parking garage. I've parked there before. It's pretty solid. Right? It's not, the building's not going to collapse. So I don't know. And then the other
fancy.
Yeah, and the other side of the coin or the market is people accept it. Well, I kind of got better. But what does that mean? Like when you hire the painter and you came home and half your house was painted, did you pay the painter to paint your house or kind of paint your house? Like, what do you mean you kind of got better?
Yeah. And to finish that sort of analogy, the part he finished, amazing. It's great.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the whole left side of your house isn't painted.
Right. It looks stupid.
But this front quarter panel of my house, I mean, do you see how straight the trim is?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great. but tomorrow's going to rain, and what's going to happen to the outside of your house, right? Like, I don't know. People accept, or like you went to this guru, but you're here because your arm is hurt. Yeah, but you don't understand. He is an unbelievable pitching coach.
Mm-hmm.
How,
Got a stable. He's got a stable of studs.
yeah, and he gets people drafted. Well,
Yeah.
how
No, he doesn't.
how are you measuring that exactly? Like,
Yeah.
what does that mean? I mean, just look. The kid Blake from the Yankees gets all this praise. He's doing so well. Really, Garrett Cole's given up 32 home runs. You've got 7 guys out with elbow injuries. So how are we measuring what good is? Do we just throw those out? I mean,
Right.
like Garrett Cole was unhittable, maybe sticky stuff, but still, he was unhittable in Houston. He just gave up today his 32nd home run.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. In comparison, like that's the only thing you can do is compare to like what was he without you, and he was clearly better.
Right. So how are people saying that someone is improving when the numbers don't bear it out? Or are you just not, he's a great hitter. Well, all right, hit 35 home runs, but he's hitting 180. Like, I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you, I can tell you to answer your first one, right? It's, the guys that seem to have names, and I know personally, without saying many names, that there's been guys who they kind of luck out. They're working with at a place that lots of pro guys or cusp pro guys, right? Kids are, on the verge of being drafted. They're going to get drafted no matter what. They're good. They already get Division I commitments, and they happen to go and work out at a place, and you happen to be the guy there that will, monitor their bullpens, and then you may give them a tweak or two, and then that's your guy, and everybody wants a piece of that. Everyone wants to be associated with that. Oh, that guy, yeah, oh yeah. Now I know him. We're tight, yeah. We see eye to eye on pitching stuff. That's what it is. It's sad. I see it. I've seen some like people that I really respect, people who have like even worked for me that I really respect, that like they're a suck up to that sort of stuff.
Look at this. We talk about the teacher man, and yeah, we've got video. He's worked with Aaron Judge, but nothing that he's selling right now, Aaron Judge is doing that. We've proved that on video. Aaron Judge isn't flipping his wrist to start a swing,
right?
At all.
No, he's not standing on one leg either.
He's not standing on one leg either.
Yeah. So it's bad, and I think that to answer your other question about like well, that wasn't a question, but you made a statement about people accept it. I don't know if they accept it so much as they number one, they don't know better. They don't know what the comparison should look like or does look like. And I think we talked about it before. I forget what was in relation to it. People don't want to be duped. They don't want to feel like they got duped. And but there's lots of duping going on. There's lots of false claims going on, and there's because the proof is in the pudding. The proof is eating the pudding, is what the president said about a couple of days ago. But the proof is in the pudding. So if you can take kids and you can develop them from when they're young, and you can get them into college, right? And again, it's not you. I shouldn't say that, right? But if they're under your tutelage, at the bare minimum, you're not wrecking them. You're not ruining them. You're not hurting them. You're at the minimum, you're letting them nurture into the players to go where they're supposed to be. But the reality is, the good coaches, you are helping the kid get into college. You're teaching him the tools. You're teaching him the game, the mental game, all of it, right? You're showing him the path, or her the path. And, you should have that track record. I mean, the guys that we get into college, we brag about it. Of course we do. We're proud of it. We're proud of it. Yeah, we're proud of those kids. We're proud for them. We follow them. So, yeah, it's it should be kind of easy, because again, it doesn't take much to look into somebody's sort of track record of what they're able to do for a baseball athlete and what you can expect them to do for your son or daughter. But it's hard though, because again, like I said, you get people who will lay claim to people that they really didn't have any part of the development. So it's tough. So I think it's going back to what we said way back in like episode 2, which is do your homework, really do your homework.
Absolutely.
and make sure, have an idea, shop around even, that's what I think. But yeah, it's tough. I mean, for what you do, it's completely different. All right. So now, because this is the stuff you can compare it to, should be easy. We're going to give you an easy one. This is a layup. Okay.
So, unfortunately, we actually can't even see this video because this guy took so much heat. I just clicked on the video. It said something about the
no way
copyright. Yes. So I'm going to describe. So this clown in Vegas, I think he is, Cunha, Cunha, has something called a farm board, which really is two pieces of, looks like in the old breakdance days, two pieces of linoleum that a guy puts their feet on, and then he's supposed to be teaching, he swivels that and rotates somehow. Like he's teaching the scissor that both feet are moving to hit a ball. He has added to this by getting a kid on these linoleum to breakdance, and then has this half moon shaped thing that's filled with water that the kid puts on his neck. So now the water is going one way while he's going another in this breakdance. Like, can you imagine? Like, let's just say, hey Barry, look, I know you hit like 95. It says, the media has been disabled in response to a report by the copyright. So there's no sense. So, can you imagine like going to Barry Bonds and saying, "Hey, dude, look at, we need to try this thing where you're breakdancing at home plate." Like, this goes against every movement principle in the world. We do something about rotation. Again, for those playing at home, it's a merry-go-round. You need to have a stable pillar and rotate around, whether that's the front leg, back leg. If we're talking your shoulder, it's your spine. That's how the body moves. That's the basics of human movement. No way are you going to be able to hit a baseball with your feet swiveling on, like, what was that? The sit and spin. Your upper body's doing something else. First of all,
love the sit and spin.
Yeah, it's like, but again, a parent is like, that kid's not the kid in the kid in the picture, and it's not against the kid. He's not paying the bill. The parent is paying the bill.
Yep.
And this guy got thousands of followers that think he's God. Like, there's no way someone can hit. I mean, maybe it's got to be like a joke. Like, is it a joke? Like, is it?
Well, I'll tell you what it is, right? So two things. First of all, I just sent you, because I went to his account. I just sent you one that is up.
I might not be able to get in there because I think he's blocked me, but I'll try.
Check it.
I'll check it as you talk to me.
Check it. The second thing, it's hilarious because it's a kid throwing a med ball into the ground but sliding his foot back on the farm board.
Get this in. Like, okay,
there you go.
Keep talking.
Okay. So the second thing is what he does, and I tell anyone to go to this account, is he'll find swings where someone will have their back foot shift back. Now, nobody's doing it like this. Nobody's dropping their back foot back like that. But if you go through their thread, you'll see a couple hitters. Hold on for a pause for a second. You'll see a couple hitters that, like, their foot does come back, but it's on pitch location. It's on mid-swing adjustments.
Outside or something. You got to reach for it. But this kid's literally in a baseball stance, holding a medicine ball. He's a right-handed hitter, so it's like up in the cocking phase behind his right ear. And he throws the ball diagonally down to the ground and kicks his back foot out at the same time.
Yeah.
No one can hit a baseball like that. What is this? Yes, we've seen it, and it's been like, and people have admitted, the pitch was way outside. I reached for it. I was trying to reach for it. Yeah, so that's how I tried to extend myself. Yeah. Like, no one can you can't hit a wiffle ball. Even with the big red Captain Caveman bat. Remember that big?
I love the Caveman bat.
I love that bat.
The Flintstone bats we used to call them.
Yeah, and used to hit it. If you caught it right, the ball goes straight. Goes straight up in the air behind you.
Yeah. So he retweeted from the Red Sox game. It was a Phams home run to right field.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not kicking his foot back. So I don't know if he's a Red Sox fan or whatever it was, but so he posted that. And then I saw one other one that he posted from a day ago. Interesting. It was actually the hitter that thought he pimped a home run. They thought was gone. The video we showed, that hitter did it a little bit. But again, this is something that you can see, and you'll find this a lot online. Kevin, right? Is someone will say, "Oh, well, this is what you need to do in the swing," and they'll search the internet and they'll find somebody in that position, right? But it's because the pitch is out front. Maybe they caught it early. It wasn't perfect contact, whatever. You can always find something to, that looks like what they're doing on your farm board, which is literally a piece of plastic. Plastic slides and it's on turf or carpet. I don't know if you ever knew that, but
Linoleum.
you learn something new every single day.
It's
Yeah, I could spin for days on linoleum. Absolutely, like
it's
elect-
TV Raw based.
yeah, dude. It was like mimicking Breaking Two, Electric Boogaloo.
Yes,
When I was in like 7th grade or whatever it
Right.
was.
exactly.
It's great. Yeah. No,
So-
it's ridiculous. It's bananas. And why are you putting this big thing on your shoulder? Like, what? What are you doing? Let's put a bunch of water on your shoulders. It's like this new thing came out, right? This new training thing, and they go, "Oh, we got to get that. It has unstable weight and has
Mhm.
water in it. We're gonna apply that to all our hitting right away." Garbage, my opinion.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
the whole so it's I mean, we can spend hours on the why would you do that, but I mean, these guys are, I'm sure they're probably making money hand over fist with this
Oh, they are.
garbage that I don't understand. Just doesn't.
I know for a fact that they
Is
are.
anyone leaving there going to play at some other level?
Yeah, I mean,
Like, who is the University of Texas going to look at that kid and be like, "Oh yeah, the scissor kick,"
no, I don't know.
or is that in lucha libre wrestling, like the scissor? Like, hey, who's? I don't get it, or I don't know, right? I mean, it doesn't. It just I don't know.
Well, it looks at where they get it from. It's not from a physiological, law or principle, or even like a biomechanical belief. I guess maybe is, but they saw a couple home runs and they go, "Oh, look, that guy kicks his leg back. If every kid does that, he's going to be a phenomenal hitter." There's no rhyme or reason for it. I've never heard an explanation, by the way, from them saying, "Here's why you want to do this," other than, "Oh, this is what so-and-so does." It just, it makes zero sense. But again, it just ties in. It's, I know I'm beating a dead horse about it, but it's a perfect example of exactly what we've been talking about. And there's some, we have some here locally, and
Yeah.
you just got to give your best advice, and hopefully the person that you're talking to trusts you enough to knows that you're not blowing smoke, and
Right.
they follow your advice. That's all
So
you can do.
one thing before we leave, there's been a couple. I just got a Journal of Orthopedic and Sports Physical Therapy. There's a baseball pitching thing in there. There's a lot of published stuff that's come out recently talking about arm strength.
Okay.
Stronger you are, the less hurt you're going to be. And I'm just going to tell the people who are doing that is absolute horseshit. Okay. Yes, we want to have a strong arm. But if you have chicken noodle soup, it's alphabet, the M, the W, the T, you are going to get hurt.
Don't
Every
forget the
time.
inverted W.
Inverted all the time. And these guys are posting these studies with these machines that are measuring strength and doing great, all that stuff. But you're not looking at arm path. No one is talking about, even the people who are saying, I've read these biomechanics, one of the published thing on biomechanics, like it's just verbal diarrhea. Okay.
Yeah.
If you accelerate your arm, pronated against gravity, your career is going to end. Plain and simple. That's it. I don't care who you are. The only reason you're going to get and have a career is pure luck. And if you do, let's go to Vegas. I got a roulette ball. We'll put it on 0. We'll do a hook shot. We'll see if we can get in there. Okay.
Yep. And can I just add something to that too, Kevin?
Sure.
A baseball, it's 5 ounces, folks. That's all it is.
That's it.
5 ounces. Like that's not heavy. You don't need to be. Have you ever seen Randy Johnson? Ever seen that guy? Throws the ball pretty hard, right? Is he jacked? Like, right? He's narrow. He is a narrow man. and threw the ball a gazillion miles an hour
And then let's just look at,
and didn't get hurt, by the way.
right. Let's just look at size. Because I've seen posts about the long toss. I've seen so much garbage this week. Arm strength, long toss. The size of your rotator cuff, your supraspinatus muscle is about yay big. You know, maybe it's an inch long, a half inch wide, whatever. The rest of your rotator cuff muscles can fit in the palm of your hand. You know how big your ass is? You know how big your hamstring is?
Depends on your asking.
Yeah. You know how big your back extensors are, your groin? Are you going to let someone who's a alleged scientist tell you that you have to, in order to throw hard, that it comes from your arm strength with these little muscles? Are you insane? Are you insane? There's guys on the PGA Tour hitting the ball 350 yards at a swing. Is it because they have Popeye arms? Nah. Okay. No. They have this unbelievable amount of flexibility and torque as they rotate their spine and then unrotate it and deliver force through the golf ball. Very simple. Okay. So if you're listening, oh, we got to build up my arm strength, you're going to get hurt, and you're just going to get hurt at a faster rate. And the people talking that arm strength is the end all be all to velocity and arm safety, please stop. It doesn't make any sort of biological or kinesiological or any logical sense. Okay. Power comes from the core, plain and simple. And for most people, please, before you publish a study, make sure you know the difference of muscle contractions. Please define, right, exactly. Please define concentric, isometric, and eccentric, and know what they are, because the arm moves eccentrically, meaning it moves to decelerate itself. So basically, the bigger and more muscle mass I have, I'm just really promoting the brakes of the arm, because that's how the arm moves in the pitching rotation or pitching movement, is to actually slow it down so it doesn't come out of the socket and hit the guy in the front row. All right. So I'm sure you've been real happy with all your widgets that you've invented, but at the end of the day, arm strength is not going to save your arm from being injured. It's mechanics, and using the bigger muscles, because every injury, every Tommy John injury, you can trace back to see one of those stupid arm patterns, MWT, that the arm is late getting into position and all the torque goes through the elbow. Every single one of them.
And so while Kevin was talking,
please prove me wrong.
As Kevin was talking, I just put up a picture. I don't know if you can see it, because I sometimes get it right and sometimes don't. But it was just a picture of Ted Williams.
For himself.
I mean, he's this man. Okay.
Back up one hair right there. Perfect.
Okay. He, hit the ball 430, 440, 450. Some said even at 500 feet. Yeah. 6'3.5", 175 pounds. And again, it's about how fast you can rotate. And that's, I think, what I'd like to sum up today is like all the things you see. Now we get into intricate mechanics too. Look, it's fun. I mean, there's always something to work on as a hitter. We get, professional hitters to work with. We work with collegiate athletes, kids that we come up through a program. There's always stuff to work on. But at the end of the day, we're not reinventing the wheel. It's about proper posture, proper muscle engagement, right? How the body's supposed to be, the posture of the body, how it's supposed to be set, how it's supposed to move. It's a postural squat, a load, sinking the hips, the landing and turning. That's it.
Right. And you're going to see a video that I'm going to post talking about functional range of motion. I hate to pick on our friend Anthony, but there's a guy, and we'll show this video, that if he was a pitcher, he couldn't throw because he doesn't have functional range of motion. What I mean by that is when we put two or more joints, because we don't just move like a robot, one joint at a time. When we added two or more joints, he didn't have proper range of motion to throw a baseball because he was too upper trap dominant. So again, it goes back to the basic movements at each joint. That's it. And it's all this other stuff is just BS. Let's go back to peanut butter and jelly, right? Because peanut butter and jelly worked for a long time, right? All I know is,
peanut butter jelly time.
Tommy John was operated in 1974, right? I mean, how many surgeries were done from 1974 to 1994, and then do it from 1994 till now, and you're going to see a graph that is straight up in the air. Okay, because we got into all this fancy strength and conditioning BS, and we're doing wrong movements and all this other velocity chasing, and we're just running pitchers into the ground. But I guess, I mean, there's, for every Tyler Glass now and Chris Sale, I guess people are like, oh, well, they made it. All right, yeah, I guess they did. But what about the 3 or 4 or 5,000 that didn't?
And so it's as we showed tonight too in the videos too. Obviously, this is just as prevalent in the world of hitting, just as prevalent. And again, it's these new ideas. Oh, we figured it out. Oh, you got to be stronger to be healthy. And let's say, for the sake of argument, that they did see some slight, decrease in injuries. I guarantee you it's because their velocity was down. Like the bigger you get, the heavier your arm gets, the less whip you're going to have. So you're not moving your arm as fast. The ball's 5 ounces. Again, it's about whipping that arm fast, and you're going to do that with the body. And the more you let it lag back here, the more vulnerable you're going to make it. It's really simple, right? I mean, so
because I tell, if you take it out of your glove early, your body's got to hold it up, right? It's got to hold it up. So as soon as I make my turn and my hip to shoulder separation, I'm now fighting myself. Right? If I leave it back there, I'm turning one way and my arm is hanging back the other way. Doesn't work.
Nope.
It's a losing equation.
Yes, indeed. I concur, sir. I do indeed concur.
So again, guys, if you want to contact the show, please do at info@proveitlive.com. Please subscribe to our Prove It Live podcast YouTube channel. This weekend, we're going to put up videos. We just talked about Anthony, Mike and I. Anthony's a professional player. We broke down swing. We broke down foot placement, stance, some basic tests. That's going to be very eye-opening to anyone who watches it. And we didn't reinvent the wheel. We just applied the wheel. Yes, is pretty much what we did. And we're going to film those, and then we sent him away to do some corrective things, and we're going to film him again. I know Mike has probably taken some Rapsodo measurements, and we'll probably have those, and you're going to see the difference, because the proof is in the pudding, because we like to prove it live here.
Absolutely.
So thanks for listening, and we'll see you guys next week.